Hello, friends, benders and non-benders alike. Welcome to Braving the Elements, Nickelodeon's podcast about all things Avatarverse. I'm Janet Varney.
And I'm Dante Basco, and this will be our first Book 3 recap, Varney.
Yes, it feels real good, friends. I hope everyone did their homework and remembers where we were at the end of Book 2, but if not, don't worry, because we'll do a quick snapshot of where we were when we left off. Because I know it's been like 100 years since we talked about the finale of Book 2, buddy.
I know, it's totally. But before we do that, I'm wondering if maybe we could just escort everyone into the first episode of Book 3 with a little help from a true Avatar insider.
Oh, you mean like someone who's, I don't know, been part of the evolution of Avatar: The Last Airbender from almost the very, very beginning? Maybe a friend of the show that we already know and love.
Exactly. And to get even more specific, how about we welcome back the brilliant Giancarlo Volpe? What's going on?
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. I always love excuses to talk Avatar.
Oh my gosh. Your everything about your energy is so like exactly
Avatar.
what our show is. I remember thinking that the first time we had you on. I was like, oh yeah, this is like meeting us like enthusiastic moment for enthusiastic moment. Like you clearly love the show as much as we do, right?
I do. I still, Avatar is still the best thing I ever worked on. Sorry, other things I worked on. I love you, other things a lot.
Heavy,
But Avatar
no shade.
Avatar is hard to top.
Yeah, it's a real favorite, and it's emotional, and I felt emotional just knowing we were getting to do season 3 and getting a chance to come back to book 3, and I'm nervous for Dante about the amount of times I'm probably going to cry in this season. I'm so sorry. I got to get out in front of it right now and say I might cry today.
Well, yeah, I mean, we haven't had the first tears yet for Book 3 here on Braving the Elements, but I'm waiting for it. But I'm very happy, Giancarlo, that we're finally getting to the Fire Nation to really explore what's going on in the Fire. Let's go. It's Fire Nation time. Book of Fire. Yeah. Let's go. And excited to have you on with us because you are such an insider. You've been there throughout the whole journey of Avatar and also in this third book. So we can't wait to talk about the show with you on what's going on, but also get your insights, the inside track on some of these things.
Yeah, I just rewatched the episode and stuff was coming back in my memory. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember we tried it this way, but then we had to go a different way. So I have lots of insider information.
Can't wait to get to it.
Dante, you want to take us through kind of where we were last season so we can move into what happens in this episode?
Let's do it. So we left our heroes last season and things were looking mighty cliffhangery.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in the Crossroads of Destiny? Well, you might recall that Zuko's sister.
This happens
Azula,
a lot.
Yes, double crosses Longfang and takes over the Dai Li to serve her own agenda. And once Team Avatar realizes what's happening, they do everything they can to stop her.
And it's not enough.
And it's not enough by any means.
So then at the same time, Zuko, much to his uncle's horror, decides he's going to attack Aang. But it's not Zuko who does ultimate damage to Aang. It's Azula who kills Aang, who's in the Avatar state, by the way, when this happens.
Yeah.
So Iroh intervenes just in time for Team Avatar to make their escape. And it's Katara finally uses her spirit water to bring Aang back. But unfortunately, Ba Sing Se, as a result, falls to the Fire Nation.
Yeah.
Yes. So just on a quick recap of the recap. So it's, because it looks like they both were hitting, Azula and Zuko were both blasting the back of Aang. But we know for sure it was probably the blue lightning, right? Because it's hard for Zuko to come back if he's also hits. I mean, it doesn't really, you just kind of see like, they look at each other and like, bam. And then we assume it's the lightning.
I always assumed it was pure Azula.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's canon.
But it's interesting you bring that up because now I kind of want to rewatch it and be like, is there a take where like there was a Zuko assist in there or something?
It was
that
like it's very vague. It's kind of vague. They like kind of look like let's get them.
I think you know what it is too is again there's that this is at the end of the day it's a kid's show. And so Nickelodeon censors were always a little extra careful about stuff like shooting someone in the back. Now it's magic, which is, I think, gives you a little bit more leeway to like, but I remember, Zula does that charge up that, she kind of winds up her.
Yes.
Goes 1, 2, and then he's turning into the Avatar state, which is a big deal, right? Because it was sort of blocked all season long.
Yeah.
And then boom, like he kind of feels pain, and
they kill him.
I think he falls away, and then you see Azula standing.
She has the smoking
essentially
gun.
With the smoking gun.
I guess she has a smoking gun.
She has the smoking gun.
That was
Good
meant
call.
to say, "Oh no,
She's the one that does
Azula shocked him." But
because also, I don't think Zuko has it in him.
To be friends later on if you shoot someone in the back. It's
that
hard.
Would be it.
Yeah,
but I feel like Aang could find it in his benevolent heart to do that if he sensed that Zuko truly wanted to make amends, and he seemed to do. Zuko came around.
It's heartbreaking that Zuko just stays there and does all this stuff with the fire. Like he was you guys set him up early in the episode so nice of that last episode of like he's having the greatest day with Uncle. He's turned a leaf. I'm like a brand new guy, and then all of a sudden I'm rolling with it just hit us hard with the disappointing Zuko. He disappoints so much.
I love that they made you think he was going to join the good guys at the end of season 2. It made it hurt that much more.
It was too good. He was being too happy. You never see him that happy. It's no way.
Didn't Sokka have a line too that was like, "This is the best day ever. Nothing
Everybody.
could go wrong."
Everything is gonna work out perfectly from now on and forever.
He also had some sort of line like that, I remember.
Sokka, don't say it. Don't say it. You're better at saying the thing that's the worst that's happening. He's really good at just being like, well, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Don't jinx everyone by saying everything. What could possibly go wrong? That's never a good idea.
He's like that one family member who like, they say something like, "Oh man, now everything's gonna fall apart," because you're the jinx in the family.
Exactly. So we know a lot happens in this episode. We have this sort of we're with Aang in his confusion as he's waking up with hair. We'll talk more about that. We have this, the whole team on a Fire Nation ship. We find out that everyone thinks that the Avatar is not alive anymore. We have this reunion that's been 3 years in the making with Zuko and Ozai. And we have Aang being forced to sort of keep his existence a secret. Aaron Ehas wrote this episode. We all know that our very special guest, Giancarlo, directed this episode. And so we've already kind of talked about what it was like, just the sort of general experience of working on the show. Do you remember anything about this episode, kind of going in, doing the prep for it? Anything that stood out, like anything that that you want to give us a little inside scoop on? And again, we've discussed it's been 20 years, so no worries.
And do you remember getting like, we're going to start hot, you guys, book 3. We're going to start with Giancarlo Volpe. Bring Giancarlo in here. Let's start it off hot.
You know, it's weird you bring that up. Like, I realized I was assistant director on the very first episode, the first 2 episodes of Avatar, Boy in the Iceberg, and then I forget what the name of the second one is.
Water Tribe or something.
Water Tribe something. Then I directed the first episode of season 2, and I directed the first episode of season 3. So somehow I'm set the table guy.
You are set the table guy. That's huge.
But
first up to bat is good. First up to bat's the leadoff hitter. That's a leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
You know what? I accept this. I'm that guy when you go to a party and there's all the food and you're nervous to fix a plate because is it rude? Is it time yet? I'm the guy who's like, I'm breaking the seal. I want everyone. I'm hungry, and like it's okay. So maybe that's why they picked me to launch off season 3.
I love that analogy so much. I can't even tell you. I love it. You're like the one that's like, we sang the song, let's cut the birthday cake. What are we doing? What are we even doing?
So hungry. Is that egg custard in that tart?
But I remember I was very tickled by the idea that Aang wakes up on a Fire Nation ship with hair, because it implies that some time has passed. Like, there's a different version of the story where it's moments after Katara has kind of whisked Aang to safety, and now they're, I guess, whatever, picking up the pieces. But we actually imply some time passage, and then learn about what happens through two recaps. There's the Sokka recap, which is very fun and conversational, but then there's the Lo and Lee one that's creepy as hell.
Yes.
And the Avatar fell, and the Earth Kingdom fell.
I mean,
Which
she's
is
got
powerful, which
yeah.
is very powerful. When
Her
watching
hype
it again.
ladies are very good at their
Great.
jobs.
They're
It's a
very
good hype
wrinkly,
team.
but they're very strong. Big message.
I wonder what their story is like.
It's a spin-off episode for sure. Maybe a
Yeah.
spin-off series of them young and see what they were doing in a young stage. But
Young Lo and Lee. Also, we're jumping way ahead, but like when Zuko takes over as Fire Lord, I feel like Lo and Lee are loyalists. There's Ozai loyalists.
Yes.
Like they're a thorn in his side.
I don't trust those
For
old women for
years.
nothing. Believe
Yeah.
you me, I don't trust those old ladies for nothing. But yes, Giancarlo is the leadoff hitter here, season 1 and
Heck yeah.
season 2 and season 3, the first director. But also, we can't forget the director of The Great Divide. I mean, the all-time great director
Let's never
of The
forget.
Great Divide.
They're like,
I
who do
love
we
The
need
Great
to
Divide.
kick off? Yeah, who do we need to kick off season 3? The Great Divide guy. That's
There it is, guys. The Great Divide. Wow. I could just stare at it forever.
Okay, I've seen enough.
It's become one of my favorite episodes.
I love that
For the record,
episode.
you guys, everyone out there,
Oh.
it's become one of my favorite episodes for so many reasons. I'll fight you. Let's go.
No, I feel the same, and I'm always on board for a creepy creature that you learn to understand in a different way, because I feel like it's such a good message to kids and adults everywhere who are afraid of things that aren't trying to get them, or you know what I mean, like just that sort of idea of like we can live in peace and harmony with spiders, or like those coyotes aren't coming for you. Well, yeah,
there's all kinds of positive messaging in that.
that's right.
Also, the spiders were hungry.
Hey.
They were.
It all
they were
comes
just
back to food.
hungry. We all know what it feels like to be hungry. Well, why don't we dive in?
Let's jump into it.
And
Let's
see
jump
where
into
we
it.
are. Dante, you want to kick us off?
Let's go. So the first shot we see of the episode of this new season is a young man who looks an awful lot like Aang, like Giancarlo said, but the guy's got hair, which was a little jarring for me at first. I'm not gonna lie, I was doing the math in my head, like how long has this been? And it's pretty thick hair. My gosh, he's a brunette. He's a brunette.
He's a brunette. Thank
That
you.
too.
He's a brunette. My guy's a brunette. He has a full head of hair. And we're with him as he wakes up. He's disoriented, and we realize that he's all bandaged up, which made me realize he was way more hurt than the last time we saw him. This guy has been through some stuff. So no surprise there. But since we last saw him, he was in pretty bad shape. But then things seem to even have gotten worse when Aang realizes that he's on a Fire Nation ship. Exhausted and limping, using his staff for support, Aang tries to make a break for it while the 2 Fire Nation soldiers chase after him, which, by the way, these soldiers don't look, they look similar. I instantly, I know who they were. I was like, oh, those are Jet's boys.
Yeah.
Those are Jet's boys, which I miss my boy Jet, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Jet.
R.I.P. Jet. But the Freedom Fighters are still rocking with us.
Yes.
But
Although, I remember, if I can interject,
Yeah.
we played there's a lot of work into trying to hide who they were, because you wanted to feel like Aang stumbles around the corner on this Fire Nation ship. He has no idea why he's there. And these 2 soldiers are coming at him, and he's like, oh, crap. But the problem with Pipsqueak and the Duke is that one dude's 8 feet tall and one dude's 3 feet tall. So like it just didn't look like a stock Fire Nation soldier, no matter how you split it. So I think the way we did it, we kind of cut to them just very briefly, and then we cut away.
Instantly.
But the astute viewer, such as Dante, could probably
those are
tell
Lost
pretty
Boys.
quickly.
Jet to me has always been like, Peter Pan, Lost Boys. I'm like, those are Lost Boys dressed
You
in
can
Pirates
sniff
clothing.
those Lost Boys out.
For sure. Those are Lost Boys dressed in Pirates clothing.
It was that Lost Boy radar kicked in.
Right there.
No, but I think you guys did a great job with it too, because the important thing really ultimately, yes, it's fun to kind of maybe fool the viewer for a second, but it's so much more important that we're experiencing it through Aang's eyes, right? And you did a beautiful job with that, because there's almost a dreamlike quality to it where he's so afraid and so disoriented that, we've all been there. It's like, how long does it take our brain to catch up with
100%.
our eyes when we're compromised in some way? And so you could see him going 10 minutes and then going like, wait a minute, I'm just starting to process the slight familiarity about those Fire Nation soldiers, but we've all done it where you just plow full steam ahead. And so I think it's the perfect balance. I think it's
and
great.
as an audience member,
well.
I was still like, why is he on a Fire Nation ship? You're going in your mind like, why would he be here? Those are the freedom fighters. Like, what are they doing here? What's going on? You still have that feeling of anxiety and
it's a great, I mean, if you think about it, there's a different way to play it where you could have had him sort of sick in bed and all of our heroes are standing around him going, he hasn't woke up for a month, and talking amongst themselves how they got here. But to hear it through Aang's eyes with this surprise, this twist reveal, I feel like that's good, like good pacing in your storytelling. Yes. So, kudos to the writers for crafting it that way.
It's very sophisticated. Yes. It is. You're right, because I'm sure we all had the same experience when you were just saying what you were saying, which was I saw Aang's eyes open. I saw blurry. I saw figures in a circle looking down at him. Like, you've just animated for our brains, because we know that trope. We know the trope of like, oh, where am I? Maybe we've even seen it to some degree on the show if someone's kind of waking up. So to just jump in and we're in the middle of the action, love it. Great choice.
Thank you. So, I mean, again, I'm following the script that was given me. So that wasn't necessarily my call, but
just say you're welcome, Giancarlo. Just say you're welcome. You're welcome.
That's what we say. When people tell us how great our show is at cons, we're like, thank you so much. As if we made it. If we
made it. We're like, yeah, great.
I'm too humble. I will take credit though. There's a shot of Aang stumbling down the hallway that I did lots of extra poses for that in the storyboards, because I just had a specific, like, I wanted you to kind of get that, like, he's trying to walk but he can't, and it hurts. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The animators, really took what I did and took it to another level. So it's one of those animator detail things where, like, you could have shortcutted it, did it the quick and easy way, but I had to get my hands dirty on that one.
Giancarlo, we have a phrase on Braving the Elements for these details. It's a share me the details moment. You just fed us. You hand fed us like we were little baby birds. You fed us a beautiful share me the details moment. The intricate extra steps that went into that scene. Y'all go back, watch it again, pay attention to that stagger, and know that this is the kind of time and care that is what makes this show so special and stand out from so many other shows. See?
Yeah,
that's how we do.
I love that you point that out, and when this episode comes out, maybe I can post the storyboard or something.
Yeah.
So
you can that's such a great idea.
See the extra
has all the goodies. Giancarlo has all the goodies in the backlog.
Yes.
I love that.
It's Halloween. Come to my doorstep.
Let's go. So now our damaged, hobbling Aang makes it topside, and we see Momo and the rest of the gang.
Yeah.
But they're all wearing Fire Nation gear. They're all in Fire Nation. We don't know what's going on. It's all too much for our Avatar, and he passes out. And then we see Zuko and May, and we find out that Zuko is finally heading home for the first time in years. And guess what? Aang got more hair, and Zuko got more hair. So we know something's going on. The top bun is back, baby. And we get to see Zuko reflecting on all of this.
Giancarlo, what happens next?
So then once we get back on the ship with Team Avatar, Aang's chilling with Appa and Katara as he tries to process everything that's happened, including the fact that he has hair. I guess that was kind of, I forgot that this happened, but Katara points it out, I think, or is it someone points it out, Sokka or something.
I like your hair. I have hair?
Yeah.
And he, like, touches his hair and freaks out.
Right.
Since he was unconscious for a few weeks and he did have time to grow. And then they're joined by Katara and Sokka's dad, Hakoda. And it's immediately clear that something's going on with Katara, between Katara and him. She's got attitude. she's short and irritable with him. It's kind of surprising given that, they're finally reunited, but why is she acting this way? And when Aang tries to get to the bottom of it, Katara essentially tells him that he's just imagining it. She's not admitting it.
I mean, this is just really quick to call it out. Like, to your point, guys, this is just another pylon of shock, right? I mean, now you can add this Katara punch to Aang's confusion because he's got hair, Zuko's got hair, they're together, Aang's on a Fire Nation ship, and now something's going on where Katara is behaving in a way we would never expect to see with her dad that she's been missing and dying to be reunited with. What has gone on? Like, so we're dropped right into the middle of it, just like Aang.
I'm Hakoda, Katara and Sokka's father.
He knows who you are. I just called you Dad, didn't I?
We just saw Sokka and Hakoda in the episode before being very loving and just hugging, and then you see Katara and you're like, oh,
yeah,
this is
harsh. Another great sort of storytelling trick is what we could have done, for example, is have this emotional, heartfelt reunion between Sokka and Hakoda where they hug and I missed you and blah, blah, blah. And then did that all over again with Katara. But what's fun is she has a completely opposite reaction. She's actually kind of pissed at him that he abandoned the family to go fight this war and, is harboring these, feelings of resent towards him.
But she's such a teenager about it. This is like another thing that reminds us that they're teenagers, because Aang is like, are you mad? Like, are you mad at your dad? And she doesn't go like, well, I'm processing these feelings, right, Giancarlo?
Yeah. I mean, I think what's good is like she doesn't really admit it to herself or to Aang until later in the episode, which gives us. There's also kind of the theme there, if I can teach more film 101, I guess.
Yes, please.
There's this theme about Hakoda going off to fight the war by himself. And we see Aang thinking the same thing later in this episode.
Brilliant. This is why we bring you.
It's just, you gotta weave the themes in there.
No, you're so right. Because you can get swept up in the dad to dad parallel and forget the Hakoda to Aang parallel. Like because you once you know that the Zuko and Ozai are about to be reunited, then you're just like, oh, Katara and Hakoda equals Zuko and Ozai. It's like, no, there's more layers. There's more going on, and there are more parallels happening with other characters and their journeys. I'm so glad you brought that up.
It's a very dense episode. And you know what else I also noticed too, quick aside, is it's not very funny. And I don't say that as a criticism. It's a very dramatic episode. Like I can't remember a joke in this episode.
Sokka tries, but Sokka's jokes are like, like I was mentioning to Bright, like that Sokka's like, welcome back to the land of the living. And you're like, that's grim.
Hey, good to see you back with the living, buddy.
Thanks for pointing out how dead Aang was.
Yeah, right.
And just a lot of him jinxing and being like, this is the worst day ever. Like, how can it get worse? So I agree with you. It's not, you don't remember it for its laughs.
Oh, that's right. There's a couple Sokka reactions, but it's not and I always think that, because sometimes when I'm working in animation, a typical note you get from the studio is that, how can we find the funny? This episode's good, but it's just not very funny. And I challenge that sometimes it's okay to just have a very dramatically driven episode. Yes. It's okay. There'll be plenty of time to laugh later. This is Avatar. It's everyone's funny and charming in multiple ways, but this episode didn't need that.
100% agree. And it gets even darker and harder too, because Katara's like, you let me take you down and do some healing, right, Giancarlo?
Oh yes. So then they go below deck, and Katara finally get to see her do more of her kind of healing stuff that she picked up at the Water Tribe, right? And then we grasp, how serious Aang's wound is from Azula. I mean, it's on his back. It's big and nasty. It's really bad.
Yeah.
And the healing even triggers a traumatic flashback for poor Aang, where we see him levitating the Avatar state. Essentially, this is what we would call in the industry a do not animate. So what you do is you're doing your storyboards, right? And then you once it's all done, you send it to our partner studios in Korea to animate it. But what you don't want to do is if you're doing a flashback, you don't want to make these poor animators redraw the same scenes from the previous episode.
Right.
So you put a big X over it and say, do not animate. Don't worry about this. We're going to cut in old footage from the previous episode.
Awesome.
So that's a little side right there. So we
Save
go
some
to
time. Save
some
some time.
flashback shots. We see Aang levitating. He's in the Avatar state with the green crystals and all that stuff. The small group of Earthbenders. He snaps back to reality. Katara tries to use her water to extract the pain, I guess, but it triggers some frightening flashbacks for Aang, and he realizes something.
I went down. I didn't just get hurt, did I? It was worse than that. I was gone. But you brought me back.
I mean, that's to have that moment where you're like, I got killed.
Yeah.
Talk about it. I mean, there's some characters that have some near-death experiences. This is a little nearer and all the way through and back again. It's pretty crazy.
So here's my question. So I directed this episode, but I have a question. Maybe this is a Mike and Brian question. Actually, I think I know the answer, but maybe something to ponder. Did Azula kill Aang and Katara brought him back from the dead? Are we saying that this is possible in the Avatar universe, that you can res spell someone? Or are we saying that it was a mortal blow? He was hanging on a thread. But Katara kind of pulled him back up from, he almost crossed over.
Right.
We do have to acknowledge this next sort of scene in the show. We do go to our precious and terrifying Azula. So we're not getting a break from her. You know, there are episodes she does not appear in. I need everyone to understand this is not one of those episodes.
No.
We are absolutely going to be revisiting. You said it, Giancarlo, also equally eerie in some ways, Lo and Lee. This is, we're Fire Nation all the way, baby. We see Azula's kind of mentors, we like to say hype ladies, take turns. They're announcing the feats of Azula to the masses. And
So
it's kind of a fun,
scary.
and you said it, there's like these kind of double flashbacks, which I love, and very detailed. Some stuff comes up in these flashbacks that we see as we're sort of, it's a flashback, but it's also, it's like a flashback to that past we didn't necessarily see, right? So that's almost different. That would be a do animate, Giancarlo, right? Because
that's a great, that's a do animate. I remember I boarded
animate.
those sequences of sort of like how the Earth Kingdom fell, and I got a lot of notes from Brian. And I think the problem with what I did is I overboarded it. This is a very common thing where, I wanted to see all the scenes of how the Earth Kingdom fell, but Ryan reminded me, like, we need it to kind of pace with her dialogue, with Lo and Lee's dialogue.
Okay.
So we gotta do this in just little glimpses, so we just need a shot of this. We just need a shot of this. And so I got some heavy guidance from Brian, but I think, it's good. It turned out way better.
It was powerful.
As a result.
The way that wall comes down, and the whole telling.
Your heart just
They kind of
sinks.
slice it.
Ooh, your heart sinks.
I mean, it's sad because it's, much as I love the Fire Nation, it's a sad day in the world when the Earth Kingdom fell. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah. If
And-
there was any chance we thought maybe it hadn't happened to the fullest degree, we are reassured. Like, no. They literally pulled down the walls. It's bad. They
pulled down the walls.
over.
Yeah.
They did it.
And just, this to again point out sort of the smart writing in this show. At the end of season 1, Aang and family, the gang, as we like to call them, successfully defend the Northern Water Tribe. So it's a great, satisfying end to season 1.
Not so
At
much
the end
season two.
of season 2, they failed.
Yeah.
They failed to defend the Earth Kingdom. So, Ba Sing Se. So it's this weighs on Aang. He's like, I think you got the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Or he's worried about his friends. Now it's getting at him because he took an L.
So quick question
he's
with
1 and
Lo.
1.
So they don't have any, whatever news source you got. We got Lo and Lee out there
Yeah.
reporting.
It's true that they could say
exactly
whatever
how
they
it went
want.
down.
Yeah, it is kind of like
it's so
old
spooky the
school
way they're
version of
saying
like,
it too.
it's like, like TikTok or something. Like they just get up on the thing and like, so word from the streets is that
Yes.
boss needs to say foul.
And they're doing it in unison and in harmony. We're like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
They're definitely interesting characters.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by them, and it is very weird that I feel like we just get more for characters that we return to more than once. We get more context for kind of who they are, and that I kind of like that we don't get that context because it makes them even weirder. It just makes their existence a little like even more kind of like where
were those characters inspired by?
Yeah.
Because I get like old original Dune vibes from like them, like or like Excalibur movie. Like there's some of these characters in these old medievalish kind of these women that are like chanting, and I don't know where it comes. Dark Crystal. I don't know what's going on.
The witches in Macbeth, kind of.
The witches in Macbeth. I see all this stuff in my mind when I see these women.
They're also sort of. There's also sort of reverse Irohs in a weird way, because you think of Uncle Iroh as this loving, kind of parental figure who's training Zuko.
Right.
And then remember when we first meet, secondly, the second appearance of Azula is in episode 201.
Right.
They're training her to do the lightning, and it's the two of them watching. So they're these elders, that know these wicked ways or old Fire Nation.
They're powerful.
Firebending tricks.
They're powerful.
But, I think it's an interesting flip that there's two of them. It could have just been one, but kind of these creepy twins that finish each other's sentences and stuff.
Time to hit the beach.
Yeah.
Oh, the reverse Iroh.
Can we get a special show? Reverse Iroh.
Yeah.
Maybe they dated
like a
Iroh
wrestling
back
move
in the day too. Maybe Iroh like dissed both of them, didn't like either one of them. They're like,
it's funny you bring that up. There's an old drawing that I did. I think it was for Comic-Con when we were rolling out maybe season 3 of Iroh between Lo and Lee. Like they were sort of old flames at one point.
That's what I'm saying.
So
I want to see the backstory. He shunned both of them and they went to the dark side, and he's like, yeah, these girls are too much for me.
That's
or
really
he just
funny.
got a sense like, oh man, these girls trouble.
You're no good.
Yeah.
You two sisters.
Yeah.
You're no good.
Ugh. So this whole kind of hype session ends with Zuko being reintroduced to the Fire Nation, like writ large. And it's supposed to be this moment of triumph. He's back. He's a success. The Avatar is dead. And Zuko looks deeply bummed out. I don't know how else to say it. He's not basking in that success. And we don't really know why at this point. What happens next, Dante?
So now we cut over to see Sokka and the gang, and we learn what happened to them. They flew with the Earth King back to the Chameleon Bay and hooked up with the Water Tribe, while the Earth King went off to see the world with Bosco the bear. He's living his best life, right? And then our hero...
He makes the best of what
like
happens, I guess.
He was doing good.
Yeah.
And then our heroes captured one of the many Fire Nation ships in the bay and began traveling on it in disguise, heading west. So far, so good. And then now we're playing out Sokka's plan, which is a very smart plan. And
We have a secret. You.
Me?
Yep, the whole world thinks you're dead. Isn't that great?
very classic Sokka. And then the secret is that everyone thinks Aang is dead, which is apparently a good thing. Aang's horrified. I think as we'd all be horrified if people thought we were dead, but it works for the plan. And he's not into the idea of the world thinking that it's an Avatar-free zone. Just then, another Fire Nation ship approaches, and Aang's going to show everyone just how back he is. But it's probably for the best that Katara stops him, reminding him that they've successfully passed as Fire Nation soldiers so far, because Aang does not look ready to fight right now.
What's interesting about this plot development now is that, what drives Zuko up until this point is that he needs to find the Avatar to redeem his honor for in his father's eyes. And he doesn't get to do that. Azula kills him instead. So now Zuko has to go home and I never really did the thing you wanted me to do. I never redeemed myself, at least in his eyes. Aang might be dead. I think he believes he's dead. But then it gets even more complicated later in the episode. So this is really messing with Zuko's psyche and his motivations. Like it's putting him in a really bad spot. I think that's why he's so mopey when he
That's
gets
a great
up there.
point. No, that's a great point because, like, for all we know about Zuko and for as frustrating as he can be, his honor is important. And you're right. He doesn't want to have this sort of false sense of resolution. Like he's been dying for that specific resolution. And if it comes in, it's like we've all had that, right? Where we've been like, and this thing's going to play out like this. And then as like in the Dylan Thomas poem, not with a bang, but a whimper. It's like, you know, you see whatever the way the thing you thought was going to play out plays out in some way that's like, oh, was that it? Oh, and then you don't know what to do with all of that energy. Like you're still, you know, I mean, you're so right, Giancarlo. It's like a perfect.
Yeah.
So just to go back, so Giancarlo, now we have now just to paraphrase, like we have this ship coming in. We see the kind of, this is not the droid you're looking for sort of moment, right?
Yeah.
Where Hakoda and is it Bato? Yeah. Isn't it?
Bato, what are you doing here? Yeah.
We have Hakoda and Bato like sort of, you know, pretending that they are part of the fleet and giving a little, and to your point, there's not really a lot of funny stuff. And some of the funny stuff is like the foibles of like, I mean, I guess what you're saying makes sense. It's not the best plan. Like it's when you can see the character coming up with it on the fly. Like that's never a good sign when you're like, we are the Eastern Fleet.
Actually, we're from the Eastern Fleet. We have orders to deliver some cargo.
Like,
I know there was an interesting interpretation of the boards in that scene too, because I think, as I recall, what I wanted Hakoda to do was he says something like, you know, we're the Eastern Fleet, and he raises his chin up like, you know, like I'm an authority figure, right? And you believe me. But the way it animated, it looks a little bit more like he's going, we're part of the Eastern, like he's thinking. But you know, maybe
it just. To know.
It's one of those tells, you know, that someone's lying. But what I love too is how that resolves. Is like they figure out like no one, you know, the admiral that allegedly gave these orders hasn't even talked to them or something like that. And then as the Fire Nation guys are figuring this out, crossing the bridge, Toph's super hearing, which I kind of forgot was like a thing she does.
I forgot about that too.
Right?
Yes.
Catches wind of it, and then suddenly like the fight's on.
Yeah.
And they're chasing these guys, you know, shooting these crazy like Fire Nation hooks and trebuchets at their ship, trying to damage the hull and sink their ship.
Yeah,
we get another crazy action.
It's interesting during this fight. You see how amazing Katara is has become as she's a waterbending master now. She's doing crazy stuff. But with this water tribe that's on the boat, she's the only waterbender. Like there's no one waterbending with her.
That's right.
Hakoda, Bato, you're like, oh, it's like her, and then Toph is doing her thing, and I mean the rest of the guys, including Sokka, are like, we're kind of hiding out.
And technically, Aang could, but he's still kind of injured reserve right now.
I got Toph kicking in. That's good, at least.
Toph definitely really stepped up.
Yeah,
I remember there was a moment in season 1 when we were storyboarding some fight with Katara, and she was just kicking butt. And I remember Brian gave us the note, said, wait, she's not there yet as a character. Right. And we had to strip out all of this like really over the top Katara fighting, because she needed to go and challenge Piandao, and you needed to sort of believe that she wasn't ready. And this moment when she kind of does that crazy steam effect to block
she's doing some
their
big
vision.
Things.
I remember that was kind of Brian saying like, it's season 3, it's time to go full Katara. Yes. Like I remember he gave us the blessings. Like so we wanted it to feel more like full water bending.
I was impressed watching it this time. I was like, wow, she can really do a lot more things than I remembered.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love how they would do different things. You know, it wasn't just, I hit you with a water wave again. There's always different, manifestations of bending.
How much of that is happening? Like, is all of that established in the script? Like, is it described in the writing, or does part of that kind of come into your world of storyboarding and stuff where like the description might be more just like Katara does some amazing water bending, and then you guys also have to go, oh, okay, well, what is that going to look like?
I want to say it's kind of 50-50, like there are moments in the script, like I think if she's creating cover, that seems to be more of a script based thing where like, okay, she's going to create some kind of smoke screen, like a steam screen that'll buy them some time. But then there's lots of things as you described where it's like, and then they fight or something. And that's when the board artists kind of step in and be like, all right, what if she does a backflip and lands on this thing, pops an ice cube up in the air and kicks it, whatever,
Wow.
and hopefully the blend between the two. And then obviously we would bring in, our kung fu instructors, which on Avatar is exclusively Sifu Kisu, and with Sifu Manny coming in
Sifu
occasionally
Manny
to do
with
Toph.
the earth bending, yeah.
And then on Korra, you had like an army of kung fu, of martial artists, that I think, made that show extra amazing.
Yeah.
But they would also suggest things like, what if they do this move that I would never know to come up with?
Takes a village. Takes a village. The other great juxtaposition is like, typically when, not all the time, but like if a Fire Nation is battling our Team Avatar, there's a decent chance that either Azula or Zuko are going to be a part of that fight. And instead, we have Zuko and Azula with the turtle ducks, which is, it's like, oh,
yes,
all this is still happening unbeknownst to Zuko or Azula, and Zuko's just feeding those turtle ducks, and the turtle ducks are just as afraid of Azula as they ever were, because they should be, because she's mean to turtle ducks.
And it's a throwback to like Zuko, to me, and his mom, and with the turtle ducks when young Zuko, probably the same pond. I felt like the same pond, but
I always thought it was.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. And then is this the moment when she goes, why are you sweating? The Avatar is dead.
Yeah.
And you did it, right?
Yeah.
I told Dad that you did it. Is that?
Yeah.
This is the scene where she says that, which only messes with Zuko even more, because
I'm trying to think if she does it yet, or if she's just.
Give me credit?
Yeah,
he says it in the bedroom. It happens in the bedroom.
Yeah, she hasn't said it yet.
The father tells Zuko, and then Zuko goes to Azula when she's in the bed doing her bed thing. Like, why would you tell Dad that I did that? And
that's right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So for
this, she might like it.
Yeah. So in this scene, it's more just that she's like, why do you seem stressed out? Why aren't you celebrating this? Why aren't you excited? The Avatar's gone.
She's trying to be a cool sister.
Exactly.
She's trying to be a cool sister.
But
this thing about Azula is we're all playing checkers and she's playing chess all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
even the way
it's
that
exhausting,
she kind of
Azula. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. The way she took over, like, the throne in the previous episode of Ba Sing Se is when you start to realize, like, man, she's on all the time.
Yes.
Long Feng. She's talking to Long Feng. She's like this young girl talking to a grown man like that. Like, you're gonna bow to me. I'm like, damn, Azula, what are you doing?
Yeah, and you're right. There's a real sense this whole episode where we don't know what she knows. We don't know why she's so, she's like, unless, you have nothing to sweat about unless for some reason you think the Avatar might still be alive.
Unless you think he somehow miraculously survived.
This is water from the Spirit Oasis at the North Pole. It has special properties, so I've been saving it for something important.
No. There's no way he could have survived.
Like,
how does she know, though? How does she know? Was
that?
she in the cave? How does she know these things?
Because we see Zuko think back.
I hate Azula.
I know you do, buddy. Poor Zuko.
Why do you know these things,
I was
Azula?
trying to put myself in Azula's shoes, right? So you have the Avatar dead to rights. Like, he's raising up, and you're like, I have a clear shot.
Yeah.
This is going to be easy. And she goes, charges up, boom, nails him in the back. It probably hit his heart. And he falls, and it's like, that's how it's done, Zuko. Like, you'll never be. And then Katara swoops in, and Azula knows that waterbenders have healing abilities.
Yeah, good
Katara
point.
swoops in and takes him away.
Good
She's
point.
probably like, I have to be prepared for the possibility
Yes.
that those waterbenders, especially that one, heals him. And now what should have been a W for Azula is more of a question mark. So she's like, but of course, she's thinking, I gave this a lot of thought. She's not going to go back to Dad and say, Dad, I'm so sorry. I had the Avatar dead to rights and I could have killed him, but Katara swooped in at the last minute and I think she had healing water, because that'd make her look bad. But if she goes, Zuko finally got something right and killed the Avatar. Now Fire Lord is like, wow, what a surprise. Zuko of all people. And then when we find out he's still alive, of course Zuko screwed that up, is what Ozai is going to think.
You're so
this is
all chess.
This is the chess board
I
that
hate her.
Azula's working with.
She's
Why is she doing
sacrificing. It's like she sacrificed her rook. Do you know what I mean? Like she sacrificed a good piece. And the good piece is I could have told my dad I killed him because maybe I did, but I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice that piece knowing that will protect my queen later on.
It's just
right. I hate her. I hate her. Zuko's not even wanting to play the game. Zuko's not even in this game. Zuko's like, I'm here trying. I'm in pain, sister. Like I have anxiety about not seeing Dad, and you're just putting all these. You're playing chess all over me, and I'm not playing chess.
I just wanted Ozai to pat me on the back and say, I'm proud of you,
I just want a
son.
pat on the back.
And you're playing
May's
just
kissing me.
chess.
I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. My hair's getting longer. What's happening?
Aang's hair's getting longer. Everyone's got long hair.
I dissed my uncle, who I love. He's
Diss my
somewhere
uncle?
out there.
Don't
I
even
left him
get me
in a-
started.
I left him in a crystal mummy thing in the thing.
May's leaning in for kisses.
There's
Just
a lot
everything.
going on in my life. There's a lot going
It's a
on in my
mess.
life right now.
It's a mess. It's a
messy.
mess. It's a mess there. It's certainly a mess with
How's that
our
for a recap, Barney?
listen, you got a lot to process. I knew we were showing up. We're all showing up for each other emotionally on this one, buddy. You're in good hands.
Yes.
You're safe.
Yes, yes.
It's a safe space.
Hey.
We all hate Azula, but we also love Azula. Okay,
But I love Azula. I love Azula.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. It's complicated. So back over with our two ships, we sort of see like, okay, well they've been duking it out, but like no one's winning. I mean, our team Avatar we're still neck and neck with these Fire Nation soldiers. They got a lot of tools. They're still right there. They're right on their heels. There's fireballs flying every which way. Toph has a wonderful moment where she gets to say "load the Toph," which is a fantastic line. I almost wish I had a little pull doll with a little string at the back that could say "load the Toph."
Load the top!
It's just a great line. And so she takes out those launchers, but still the Fire Nation busts onto Team Avatar's ship. They're piercing the metal with their like evil torpedo metal things, and Katara is waterbending the holes to try to restore the ship in some way. More fireballs are coming, and of course through all of this Aang is like, I'm the Avatar, come on guys, like put me in, load the Avatar, don't just load the Toph, load the Avatar. And he's trying to sort of save his strength, and everybody's like, don't do this, that's not part of this plan. And just when you think things can't get worse,
Things couldn't get much worse.
we see our familiar friend, the sea serpent, who is very scary, very beautiful, but very scary, very moody, mercurial, you might say. And the serpent has jumped into the scene. But the good news is that the serpent is more interested in becoming very close friends with the other Fire Nation ships. So the universe, as Sokka says, thank you, universe, for stepping in and giving us a little bit of Deus Ex Machina, I guess, where the serpent comes in and helps out in this case. And then we go to Aang's cabin, and Katara and Sokka and Toph come in. They want him to come to dinner. They're going to go into town. They're going to have to, disguise themselves because no one can know. Does not want to hide his arrow, but they're like, hi, your arrow means that you're an airbender, which then means you're the Avatar. So that's going to be a problem. That's the one thing you can't do. You cannot show off your arrow. You got to hide it. And Aang's really getting kind of he's just like frustrated. We've all been there. I'm like that after I wake up from a nap in the afternoon. So I can't even imagine. I'm like disoriented and fussy if I wake up after a 20-minute nap. Aang's been out for 3 weeks. His hair's grown back. Everyone thinks he's dead, and he's not allowed to show his arrow. He is not feeling it. And Katara has to dispense some of that classic Katara wisdom. She's trying to help Aang feel better. It's not working. It's not working. He feels like a failure. And to your brilliant point, Giancarlo, his solution for himself is, I guess I've got to take care of this by myself. I'm going to do the exact opposite of what everyone is saying. And instead of making it about everyone fighting this guy, I'm going to go ahead and turn it 180. And it's just me and the Fire Lord. And that's it. Right? What could possibly go wrong there?
Probably the worst time to make this call too, when he's kind of not himself.
we all do that too. People say like, don't make big decisions when you're tired. Don't make big decisions when you've got a cold.
Don't make big decisions when you've been blasted by lightning by a firebender.
It's a good rule of thumb. Then what happens, D?
Then the only thing that can make the moment better is that we crossfade to Zuko's face off Aang's, which is great work, Giancarlo and company.
His honor back.
Again,
that's exactly what happens.
Trying to remember if that was in the script or if that was like someone. But anyway, so I agree.
It's just really, we get to see more of like how their stories kind of mirror each other. And then Zuko prepares to see his father for the first time in 3 years. It's really happening. But we don't get to see it because we cut back quickly to Katara, who enters Aang's cabin only to find him gone. He's gone. He's all hurt and on that glider now. But then we're back at Zuko, who's truly, he's terrified that he has to go see his dad. And then, he's standing in the curtain of fire, but Ozai's words of praise to Zuko come out, and he tells Zuko that Zuko's redeemed.
You have redeemed yourself, my son.
Welcoming him home. I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling kind of good for Zuko at this moment, just because we want him to have a little bit of warmth in his life, you know what I'm saying? Then we go back to Aang, even though we know it's gonna be short-lived. We go back to Aang, seeing him for a moment as he struggles on his glider, and he's obviously in pain. And then we're on Katara on the ship talking to Hakoda about Aang leaving, but she's not just talking about Aang. And it's a great scene. I mean, it's really this episode, more than anything, I've really felt the parent-child relationships in all around.
Yeah.
Zuko and Katara. It's just hit me differently when I was watching this time.
Yeah. Hakoda has a good line where which I can't quote now, but it's something like, maybe he felt like he had to take on the thing,
You gotta stop. You gotta stop, Giancarlo, or Janet will start crying. So you gotta just stop there.
No, I feel like I've been vindicated, because when we talked to Mike and Brian, we talked to Bryke about this, they said there wasn't a dry eye in the house when May did that, and she did it in one take, and they were all like wiping tears away, and she was like,
it's
moving
so good.
on. Like she did not take her any time at all to just like access that place and make everyone cry. And so at least I know I'm not alone that speech makes me cry. At least I know that everyone in the room, apparently when it was recording, also was like losing it. So at least there's that.
Yeah. It's a great scene, and it hit me heavy also watching again with Katara and Hakoda. And Katara continues to talk to him about how much it hurt her when he left to fight the war. And it's just a really, really amazing moment.
Maybe that's his way of being brave.
It's not brave, it's selfish and stupid. We could be helping him, and I know the world needs him, but doesn't he know how much that we need him too? How can he just leave us behind?
Just the parent-child thing, this whole episode's amazing. Which takes us to...
We go back to Fire Lord Ozai. Another parent talking to his child. He is proud of Zuko. Yes, finally, Zuko's getting some I'm proud of you moments, but let's be honest.
Yes.
Ozai is cold as heck. There's not just a lot of affection going there. At least he's proud, though. And it seems like Azula has everything to do with that. Apparently, she's really been talking Zuko up to her dad about how he slayed the Avatar and was so brave. And it just doesn't seem to make Zuko happy. But why not? is he worried because he fears Aang is still alive? And that either way, it wasn't him who killed Aang? Or is there something deeper going on with Zuko and his many, many feelings? We won't find out right now because we got to zip back over to Aang, who's made it to a Fire Nation blockade. And he has to figure out some way to get past them. So he does something only an Avatar can do, which is switches from air to sea and heads underwater to avoid being caught.
Can I ask you a quick question? Quick question,
yeah.
Giancarlo. Just because I otherwise would have to ask it when we talk about our hybrid animals in a second. But do you remember what those animals are? There's we always have to keep our eyes open for the hybrids, and it looks like it's some kind of alligator seal or something. There's like 3 little creatures in the middle underneath the blockade when Aang zings down there, and I couldn't quite see. I thought I saw like something alligatory, but also something seal-like, but I wasn't sure if you could remember.
Yeah. That's a really good question. Like, I'm really spacing on that one because I feel like it's in one shot, right? So
that's why our fans, our cabbage heads, are going to tell us. Tell me on social media at the JV Club. Tell me what those animals are, and we'll shout you out in a future episode. See how perfectly that works out. Everybody wins. Got to find out.
Everybody
what they are.
wins.
I interrupted. Please go ahead.
Except for Zuko. Then, so we zip back over to Aang, who's done the fire. He's gone underwater. Aang makes it past the blockade, manages to rig a pretty sweet windsurfing board I guess actually I was going to say, he uses his staff on like a log or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then until the storm kicks him into the waves, poor Aang is just, why don't take on the ocean when you're hurt. No. We go back to Zuko, who bursts into Azula's room to find out why. Why did you tell our father that I killed Aang? And she explains that she'd help him by giving him the credit, but Zuko's not buying it. There's got to be some other reason. Like, what if Aang's not dead? Wouldn't that be embarrassing for Zuzu? Mm-hmm. And again, he's just falling into her chest trap.
What could I possibly gain by letting you get all the glory for defeating the Avatar? Unless somehow the Avatar was actually alive.
Oh my God! You can't win with her. We can't win with her.
All right, we got to go back to Aang because this is not good. We already wish he hadn't done what he did. There he is. He's by himself. The storm at sea is
he's
so
on
bad.
a little Aang alone. He's like on a little Aang
he's
alone.
So little. The sea
thing,
seems so vast in these moments. He's hanging on by a little bit of a thread. He's even start to doubt that he is going to make it at all, which is very sad. But then he gets a visit, a little pick-me-up, little boost from a friend, Avatar Roku, who
hey, what's up, Roku?
I have to say, these we saw the
Fire
curtain
Nation,
of fire.
Fire Nation.
You know what I mean? I'm going to give it up. We saw that scary curtain of fire that Ozai, the idea that that's like a relaxing place for him to hang out is very unnerving to me because it's such an unpleasant place. But here we have Roku coming in on some lightning. And then, as if that weren't enough, we have a very, very special guest appearance by none other than the moon herself, Princess Yue. And this is just a very cool scene.
Yue.
Great. It's such a cool scene, and it all works on Aang. His confidence is restored, and he's boosted his power also, emotionally from Roku.
And his sweet curl ripping does get him to land. Curl ripping, is that not the right term? I don't know. I mean, he kind of like he's gets
ripping
there.
a curl. I don't know. I'm not a surfer.
I don't know, surfers. You tell us what he's doing there. He does kind of surfing something. Anyway, Aang's back on land, and even better, Momo's there for him, and Momo's there with him, along with the rest of the gang, who are all very happy to see them, and they're there to make sure he understands that he's not alone.
Yeah,
he's there with the whole gang. Even if he does have a broken glider, Aang's okay with it because he finally accepts that he must hide his identity for the time being while the plan continues. And where better to leave the glider than in this glowing hot crack of the lava bed?
Yeah.
And that's where he leaves it. And it's so powerful to see him stick it in the ground and then for it to kind of catch fire and go up in flame. And then that's the end of episode 1, book 3.
Masterfully directed by Giancarlo Volpe.
Masterfully. Beautiful episode. Beautiful episode. So much to talk about in there.
So that's it for that glider. That's the OG glider, and we never see it again.
Yeah. Kind of
gone.
It's a little little like Luke, losing his lightsaber at the end of Empire or something
Right.
like it. That iconic piece is now gone forever.
It was a little broken. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't keep it. It was dusted. That thing was
It was dusted.
Aang
dusted.
needed to KonMari his few possessions.
That's right.
Yeah, you need to let go of that one, buddy.
That's exactly right. Real quick, as far as hybrid animals, we already discussed. We need your help, friends, on what the animals in the ocean by the blockade are. And I think that's kind of it, except for our little turtle ducks, which we know and love very well.
Always
Let us
great
know,
to have a turtle
y'all,
duck episode.
if we missed anything, let us know in the animals. Now we just got to talk about our votes for most valuable bending and non-bending moments for the episode, and we will be out of here, friends.
Moment.
Who has?
Anyone?
Yeah, tell me, Dante. I feel like you've got a nomination.
I don't
already.
really. I mean, I do. I mean, look, Katara healing Aang's back is pretty. It's great because we know she did it in the past, but like to see her do it again and really kind of get into. I think we understand more about the waterbending healing than just like healing a scar. It's like going deep into the trauma and trying to heal the trauma. So I think it's got
beautiful
be it,
choice.
right?
That's hard to argue with. Like I would say it's that one. Maybe my second favorite is Katara doing that steam thing. That was
pretty
about
good.
That was just
that was
badass.
impressive.
But I have to admit, if she didn't heal Aang, it'd be the end of the series.
True.
Good point.
So that's the clutch. Like that's the play of the game.
True.
So,
Steam's pretty good though. Steam, that was pretty cool.
It's all water, I think, right? I mean, we have the steam, we have the healing, we have her continuing to try to further heal him,
right?
And then we have Yue, with the assist in the wave making or presumably that she's also helping Aang better waterbend himself or something. Something's going on there, but it feels like all the kind of MVP stuff. No offense, Toph, feels very water centric.
They're on the ocean.
In this episode.
They're on the ocean, you guys. Let's not forget the arrogance of the Fire Nation having their
wanting to be on that
navy.
ocean.
Yeah.
Like you guys, water puts out fire, right? But let's have a great navy. How about that? Let's have a great navy.
Toph definitely gets Load the Top gets honorable mention for sure.
Yes.
Load the Top, yes. Great.
Best line of the best fun line, not emotional line, but best fun line is probably Load the Top.
Load the top!
What about most valuable non-bending, y'all? What are we thinking about that?
I mean, so does Yue count? Yue doing the wave
the
thing?
Spirit
Is that
world
bending or
stuff,
not?
yeah. The Spirit world stuff.
I mean,
has come
she's a
up
water
for us
tribe,
before.
and she's a princess of the water tribe, so she probably was a waterbender from get go. I'll tell you from like an evil best non-bending moment is when Azula tells her dad that Zuko killed him. Like that's so brilliant.
Yeah,
I hate her. It's so brilliant, non-bending. Even when she's not bending, she's being I hate her.
Yeah.
I hate Azula.
It's a strong. I mean, listen. If you want to nominate your sister for
but think about
the
it, like
most valuable
that's the
non-bending
best
and it's
move.
pure evil,
That's
I
the
respect
best
that.
move ever. Like, I got a good idea.
This is how
Zuko killed
Azula
him.
plays chess. She's playing chess with someone knowing that she drank the last water in the building, and she's feeding you bar nuts.
Oh my
she's like, "You want some salty peanuts?"
Yes,
that's how That's how ahead of that. She's playing a game outside of the game.
She is playing a game outside of the game. I mean, look, I'm not gonna fight you on that's the most valuable non-bending moment. I agree with you, Giancarlo. This is the Spirit world stuff is a kind of a murky territory for us because we kind of almost put it in a third category in some ways. It's like it's not physical our world bending, but it's more than non-bending. It's kind of gets its own little category. So with that in mind, I'm happy to give it up to Azula because I know how much that hurts you and how brave it was for you to say that.
On the flip
Dante.
side of that,
I want to reward that. I want to reward that.
Yeah, thank you. But on the flip side, a non-bending moment is Katara telling her father actually why she's mad at him.
Oh no, you're so right. The healing
That's
with
a great
Hakoda
one.
and Katara.
Right?
I vote for that.
That's a really powerful non-bending moment where it's very rare that people can communicate their feelings to others or why they're disappointed and and say why you're mad at somebody and get through it,
Also, another tough honorable mention is when she overhears the Fire Nation guys crossing the bridge.
It's true.
I guess
that's not bending.
That's not bending. It's kind of a side effect of her. Of her,
having no sight,
special powers, but like it's not really bending. Not technically bending.
Really bending.
No, you're
it's not
right.
Technically bending. It's
you're
true.
right.
You're right. That's
I'm
good.
voting. I'm definitely voting for Katara and Hakoda because I love that, and I love that it's about even more than just their relationship. Their relationship. If it were only that, it would be enough. But it's even more than that.
No, it's beautiful.
Man, Dante, you said something about Yue that I can't help but point out. So you said she's a waterbender, and it made me think, like, did we ever see her bend?
Well, I don't know if she's a waterbender or not, but she was from
then
Northern
I
Water
remembered
Tribe.
that in the Northern Water Tribe, female waterbenders were forbidden from bending. So they were kind of
hidden.
They could heal.
That best they
or they
could
can heal.
But
they can heal. The best
like
can heal.
Fight and stuff like that, which makes you think it's this whole tragic backstory to Yue, where she actually could have been a really powerful waterbender, but was just stayed in her lane, did what she was told. And now, we see this triumphant, like,
she was a princess
from the spirit world, bending waves, changing the course of history, saving the Avatar from the other side. So maybe it's that.
Shout out to Princess Yue. It's always good to see a little Yue.
Love it. I love it so much. I love that. I love everything about this episode and this conversation. I know, Dante, you feel the same. We had our Giancarlo Volpe on.
Thank you so much
just
for coming back.
So much info on us. I can't even. That was amazing. That is literally the reason why we do this podcast, was everything that just happened. So thank you so much for doing that.
Always my pleasure. I always love hanging with you guys. It's so fun for me to go down memory lane.
The best.
Yes.
I mean, do we need to like step outside of the Avatarverse for a second and say, like, is there anything that you're working on that you want people to know about? We want to celebrate all of your work, especially the Avatarverse. We celebrate all of your work, and hopefully sometime I will get to have there will be some sort of crossover where I get to put my name next to Giancarlo's in the animation world somehow. Because I know you two have definitely been down that road.
About.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Right,
is there anything?
right.
Yeah.
A couple. So I'm starting a new show on Monday.
Ooh, nice.
Excited about that. And so, but it's all like NDA kind of stuff, but
of course,
just a new show, not connected to anything that's been done prior. And then I've been doing a couple commercials at Titmouse. Like I did an Apex Legend commercial.
Nice.
Awesome.
I love Titmouse.
There's another commercial that is not fully announced yet. And most recently worked on The Boys Diabolical, which is an animated series based on The Boys universe. It is not kid friendly at all.
I wouldn't think so. Not with The Boys.
No.
If you're going to check it out, it's very The Boys.
Yes.
Through and through. But if you like that kind of stuff, definitely check that out for sure.
Go for it. For it. Giancarlo Volpe, thank you so much for joining us. Friends, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed that incredibly deep dive into The Awakening. It has awakened a bunch of information for us that we did not know and would not know without Giancarlo. So everybody, huge shout out to our director extraordinaire. And Dante, any final words?
It's been amazing. See you guys next week.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Yay.
See ya.
Did you know you can hear bonus episodes of our award-winning podcast?
Subscribe to Avatar Braving the Elements Premium on Apple Podcasts for early access, exclusive content, and ad-free listening.
I'm so excited!